This is the Fight Fan with your host, Pete Hoffman, and UFC 259 is coming up tomorrow. It's one of the most stacked events of the year so far. It's still early in 2021, but joining us right now, former champ Dan Henderson. Just a champ in Pride, Strikeforce, unbelievable fighter. Thank you very much for joining us. And also we have NFL great Arthur Moats joining us as well. So thank you guys for joining the show. Appreciate it. Dan, Art, how we doing, boys?
I'm excited, man. Can't wait for this fight, man. You talked about the card already. Well, we're going to get into that a lot more, but man, this is just one of those ones from start to finish that I'm looking forward to, man.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. I'm always, more interested in the ones that are the fights that the UFC's been having the last 2-3 years with multiple titles on the line.
Dan, let's start with you because I have a question for you because we see that it's the champ fight between Israel Adesanya and Jan Blachowicz. Israel's going up in weight. You've done that many times in your career. Israel's coming in at 200. I think it was it 200.5 was the official weight?
200.5, yeah.
Dan, tell me, how is it go mixing weight classes? Is that smart to go in so light at the light heavyweight division?
Sometimes you weigh what you weigh. I mean, my last fight, I think when I fought DC, I weighed in at 199. It's just sometimes you're just, when you train hard, you can't keep the weight on, and that's what happens. But I think a lot of that is mental attitude too. A lot of these fighters cut way too much weight because they think mentally they're not confident enough to just fight what they weigh, and a lot of times that's not the case. They do just fine at the weight they weigh, and your body feels better and you're stronger, and mentally you can prepare a little bit easier.
Arthur, you being in the NFL, you understand the fluctuation of weight. A lot of guys like to mislead people and say that they're like certain weight limits and whatnot. But in reality, even though they might weigh 200, 205 on the scale, they're going to be 220, 230, right, whatever it is going. How is it? Give me an example in the NFL going against these guys in different weight sizes. Does it being a certain weight, does it really change things? Is it being a little bit heavier, a little bit lighter?
Man, well, honestly, as Dan was talking about, just walking around at your natural weight and being confident in that, that's something that I started to pick up on later in my career, because early on I was big in this belief that, hey, I had to be 250 pounds because that's what they say you're supposed to be. That's the typical weight for that position. But once I got older, I realized, man, speed kills. I said, man, if I could be faster, even though I might be a little bit less powerful, my speed and timing is going to make it that much more impactful. It's going to make that hit that much bigger because of that. So honestly, from there, I started to, flirt down with 240s. I think the lowest I played at one point was 232 pounds, but I was lightning fast. And when I think of what Izzy's doing a little bit, in terms of staying so light, I'm thinking to myself, well, he is a very dynamic striker, right? We know his speed, what he can do. Why slow yourself down by bulking up like that? So I think, man, if he can, the biggest thing is going to be, can he take the punishment, right, at that weight? But the speed element, I think, is going to be a clear advantage for him because of that.
We've seen Israel just dominate his last few fights. I mean, the Kelvin Gastelum was very interesting because we saw how that was just all-time classic fight. And it was a guy who was a little shorter reach, and it was interesting how Kelvin was able to really close that distance and really bring it to Israel. With Jan Blachowicz, it's a whole different ballgame. Jan's a big boy. So, Dan, explain to me how Israel could still control the distance and really win this fight, or potentially put on or compete with Jan Blachowicz.
Well, I think the biggest thing is just, I'm sure both of them and everybody, all the critics out there kind of already have in their mind what a game plan should be for each fighter. And Jan's got power and he's quick too, but not as quick. And I don't know what his reach is compared to Adesanya, but, I think, Adesanya just needs to use his speed and stay on the outside and do what he's best at. If he can achieve that for most of the fight, then he's got a good chance. Not getting in a banging war against a guy that hits harder. That's probably not the best and smartest thing to do.
Arthur, do you expect
that, Dan?
Arthur, do you expect this fight to be a stand banging fight, or do you think the fight's going to go to the ground at some point in time? Because Jan Ken, he can bring the fight to the ground and really is good at ground and pound.
No, without a doubt. I mean, you've seen what he's able to do when he gets you in close and stuff like that. And obviously, he's the bigger, stronger fighter. I mean, it was very clear at weigh-ins, and you're going to see it even more so tomorrow when they're able to come in at whatever weight they bulk up to over these next 24 hours. But to me, after watching how Izzy handled Paulo Costa, after watching Izzy when he had that war versus Kelvin Gastelum, I just think he's going to try to stand and use his speed and stay on the outside, similar to what Dan was saying just a little while ago. Now, that gives Izzy the best chance to win, but that's also the most dangerous for him as well, because we know if Yan connects, this isn't Kelvin Gastelum hitting him. This is a big man, and I just don't think that Izzy's going to be able to take that type of punishment, also knowing that he's a little bit lighter in this fight as well.
Do you believe Arthur? Do you believe the fact that Paulo Costa was too drunk on the last fight with Izzy?
Look, all I'm gonna say is this: when you start coming up with all these different exotic reasons as to why you didn't perform well, it's never a good look. We can all remember what was it, the boxer Deontay Wilder, right? He loses to Tyson Fury. He's, oh man, it's because of my pre-fight workout warm-up suit. Like, it was too heavy.
That thing was gigantic, by the way.
It's not a good look, man. It's not a good look. All right. So at the end of the day, Paulo, it doesn't matter what happened prior to the fight. Once you were in there, we all were under the assumption that you were good to go. So if you came into that fight too drunk, I blame you for that. I don't think it's an excuse. I think it's just, bad judgment in the big fight, the biggest fight of your career on top of that.
Dan, was there ever a fight where you walked into where you just were getting the jitters or whatever it is, you couldn't fall asleep, whether it was time difference or whatever, and then you just needed something to like put you to bed, and you took a few too many drinks or something like that?
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was a little bit different than most guys. I just was completely comfortable in there from day one. I'd already competed at pretty high levels in wrestling, being in the Olympics twice, that competition experience and knowing how to prepare and as the competition gets closer, that's what it's all about, just being mentally focused on what you're going to do and excited instead of nervous. I think I've never had a problem. I mean, when I go to the arenas, a lot of times back when I was fighting in Pride, they'd take us there so early that I'd take a nap in the locker room almost every time. I'd bring my pillow from the hotel and lay down and sleep for an hour or two and then get up and warm up and do my thing.
When you step into the cage, was there with the audience around you, and it was just one-on-one, did you ever feel any, when did it stop the nerves? When did the nerves actually stop taking over? Because I mean, I'm sure when you first started competing in these big fights, there must have been some nerves there, here and there. But again, like you said, after a while, it stopped.
Yeah, maybe the only fight that comes to mind that I told myself, something that I probably shouldn't have, was my very first fight ever. Like, and this was, hey, do you want to fight in this tournament? 2 weeks before the tournament. I mean, that was way back in 1997, I think. And, and I get in the cage and they shut the door and I'm like, oh shit, what did I get myself into? I got a scary guy looking across from me. But as soon as the guy said go and the guy comes at you, it's instinctual at that point. You're just, I never really got in street fights or anything, but it didn't take me long to figure out how to throw a punch.
Arthur, how about you? Being in the NFL, I'm sure that the first time you got to a game, your first snap, you probably got some jitters and stuff like that. But it's a little different because you have teammates around you, so it's got to feel a little different. How about you? How'd that feeling go? When did the jitters finally go away?
Yeah, for me, man, it was very different, right? Because I was covered by 10 other guys on the field. So early on, probably my first 2 to 3 games, I had some jitters, but it was never, to the same extent of when I was doing solo sports. I think about when I wrestled in high school, and it's just like that feeling of, if you win, it's because of you. If you lose, it's because of you. it's a different, just level of nerves that are associated with that. And that's why I always had the utmost respect for anybody, in terms of cage fighting, when you're going in there by yourself, man, and how, just damning the consequences could be from one mistake. For us, as professional football players, we never had that same level of intensity, because I know if I make a mistake, I still have a guy that can cover me. I know if I miss this play right here, this guy has my back, and vice versa. So the nerves never got to that extent, but you always get excited for it still.
As long as you're not the same. Yeah. Sorry. Go for it.
In MMA, we at least got the referees in there to make sure we don't get our ass kicked too bad.
Well, some of them are a little sloppy these days. There's a lot of questions. Everyone's calling out Herb Dean for the what was the knockout? Just the Blades knockout, the Derek Lewis Blades knockout. Do you think that was a bad? Do you think that was a bad job by Herb Dean getting there too late?
I don't know. I mean, if he got there earlier, people would be bitching about that.
Exactly. That's one of them things, right? Everybody's never gonna be happy, right? Especially if it's your guy they got beat. If it's your guy that got knocked out, it's, oh man, you waited way too long. Or like you said, the alternative, too soon, man. Let them keep fighting. Let them go out on this shield.
The only thing we can mutually agree on is that the judges are awful. The judges are terrible.
Leave it to the judges.
Yeah, I mean,
Dan, I remember you talking to me about the Bisping fight. You told me about the Bisping fight one time, about how you were very unhappy with the judging on the Bisping fight.
Well, yeah, I mean, that of course, when you got a guy that looks as beat up as that, and you knock him down twice, and there was not even a 10-8 round at all in that fight, and I almost finished him a couple times, but I'm over it already.
Listen, one thing I do want to talk about, we're getting to fights a little bit more, but I do have one question, because we saw UFC cut ties with two big name heavyweights, with JDS and I'm blanking right now, Alistair Overeem just got cut. I'm not sure if they're hanging it up for good, but coming from two guys who did eventually hang them up, give me the process, Dan, when you decided to hang them up. How was it to make that decision to finally say I'm done with MMA?
I don't know. I mean, I was in there. My last fight, I was 46 years old. So I think the biggest thing for me, it wasn't how my body felt. I mean, I felt like I could have still done it. I mean, I still get in there and spar, maybe once a week with the guys. But I just spent way too much time between practice, after practice, and then, almost every day I'd come home and just lay on the couch, and that's all I could do is go to practice and come back and rest. And I wasn't hanging out with my family and doing anything with my kids. And as that started to happen more often, I was like, it's time. And the timing was good. I was almost maybe going to retire at the Hector Lombard fight in LA, and I wasn't sure. And then they offered me, a title fight against Bisping. I thought that would be a good one to go out on. Unfortunately, it didn't go quite the way I planned, but it's the way it goes.
Arthur, how about you when you decided to hang him up in the NFL?
Yeah, and I was going to say, it's funny, man. We're actually going to be polar opposites here, right? Dan, he fought till he was 46, and I mean, he wins that Bisping fight, might still fight another one after that, right? For me, man. So whereas for me, man, I retired. I was 31 years old. I had just finished up my 9th season. But the difference was for me, football wise, the average career span is 2.5 years. So I had already felt like I had played a long time in comparison to the average. And even though physically I was still healthy, mentally I could still do it. I could still do it at a high level. My heart wasn't in it anymore, though. And it wasn't necessarily the games, because showing up for game day, the crowd, the energy, you're going to live up for that. You're going to play that. But I didn't want to do the weightlifting Monday through Friday, the dieting Monday through Friday, the film study Monday through Friday, the countless hours away from the family Monday through Friday. So for me, probably around year 7 or 8 was when I already started contemplating it. And then it was just, all right, we're going to, finish out the contract. And you kind of get that last bonus year. And it was like, all right, well, they're going to give me this money to go ahead and end it on a nice note. We're going to do that. And yeah, from there, I was able to make that transition. But that was the big thing for me. I was just, like I said, I didn't love the grind anymore. And I felt like I can't do, this sport to the level that I'm accustomed to doing it and to the level that I hold myself to without being able to love the actual Monday through Friday grind. So
Arthur, is it the same as in MMA? Like I hear, Dan, you could attest to this, but if your heart's not in getting into that cage and getting into a fight, it's very dangerous. Is it the same in NFL too?
100%, man. We tell people all the time, the quickest way to get hurt is to go out there trying not to get hurt. You go out there tiptoeing, you go out there half speed, you go out there, I want to be out here, but I really don't want to be out here. That's when guys seriously get hurt because the game is too violent and it's too fast to not do it at 100%. So yeah, that will definitely get you going in that way. And for me, I never had to deal with that personally, but just being around guys that I saw have significant injuries, that I saw, experience some things like that alter their lives going forward, it really put that in perspective for me.
I think, there's a lot of guys in MMA, and I've seen over the years that are, they're pretty good at fighting. They want to try it, then, they do okay. And then, after it ends up to where they're just fighting to get paid instead of set goals and reach them in the sport. And that's what I've always said. Don't do it just to get paid because you're going to get hurt.
And MMA still is, UFC in particular has, doesn't really pay everyone the same. So if you're going in there half-ass, it's not worth it. And now
That's a nice way to put that, Peter. That's a nice way to put that right there.
Listen,
it's amazing. Don't necessarily pay them all the same.
Listen, PFL's doing a good job. Bellator's doing a good job. Yeah. Bellator's trying to be like the Yankees of MMA, from what I understand. They're trying to pay their fighters. But the UFC, if you're not the top dog, Dan, I don't know. You tell me. There's levels. I'm not sure how friendly you were with other fighters if you knew their paydays, but I'm sure that you were doing better than some of these other fighters, and that's just a dangerous thing.
No, for sure. There's a lot of fighters that deserve to be paid a lot more than what they're getting paid. And for me, I was doing okay, but I came from a different thing, being in Pride for so long. I had a little bit different relationship with the management, we'll call it. But yeah, I did okay, but I know that there was a lot of guys that didn't. I know Chad Mendes retired because he wasn't getting paid what he should be, and it just wasn't worth it to him to put his body at risk like that for that money.
Is Dana as into that side of it as he says he's not? The financial side of it, and he says he's so like, that's not me. I don't have anything to do with that. But
I have no idea right now if that's how it is, but I know back in the day he was completely hands-on with it, but I don't know if, once the sale happened, if he just backed out of that part of it, and I'm sure he's got a lot to say, for certain guys, but I don't know if he just leaves it to the matchmakers or not.
He always has a lot to say, that's for sure. Let's get back to the fights. UFC 259 tomorrow. It's amazing card. We talked a little bit about Jan Blachowicz and Israel Adesanya, but the co-main between Amanda Nunes and Megan Anderson. Honestly, Art, just tell me, do you think that Megan even has a chance walking in?
Listen, the only way I see Megan doing anything is if she's able to stay on the outside and use that size advantage. You saw the face-off. It's crazy how much bigger she is. She looks like a giant next to Amanda, and Amanda never looks small. Never. No. So just seeing that and knowing how Megan fights, I think that's her best chance, because I don't think she has the power that's going to be needed to keep Amanda off of her like that. That's the big issue, man.
Dan, what about you, bud?
No, I agree. I think if she's going to have a chance, she's going to have to use that length. And if they do get in the clinch, just, she needs to be able to use her body weight to wear Amanda out a little bit. And I don't know what kind of condition she's in, but, that would definitely test it for sure if she's carrying around somebody's extra weight a little bit. But, yeah, using that length is a big part of it.
Is this a type of fight, Dan, where we should be almost like worried for Amanda Nunes because Megan is such an underdog. Like she's such a dog in this fight. The odds are ridiculous. Like no one's giving her a shot at all. Is this the one? Like would Amanda Nunes like kind of take her lightly in this sense, and we see something shocking happen?
I mean, that's usually how it happens. If someone does get taken lightly, it's because of that. But I mean, I think Amanda Nunes has been around a long time and a pretty good competitor where she's not going to take anyone lightly, especially in MMA. Everybody's dangerous at something in the sport, and you just got to be careful no matter what, no matter who you fight.
And Art, if I'm correct, I mean, Amanda Nunes was that person versus Ronda Rousey. No one knew who Amanda Nunes was, and all of a sudden she's out there crushing Ronda Rousey. So
remember, she silenced the crowd after that because of the whole situation where everybody was hyping up Ronda. She went and silenced the crowd, made sure it was very much on display. But the thing, I mean, when you think about with Amanda, we've seen her win in so many different styles. We've seen her with the head kick versus Holly Holm, showing that, hey, you're not the only one who has kicking ability. Then we saw her go toe-to-toe throwing bombs against Cyborg. To me, she's just on her feet. It's one of the greatest people we've ever seen. I think women or men, she's just that good right now, man.
If Amanda Nunes does win, who can actually challenge her in either featherweight or bantamweight? I mean, the only person I can honestly think of is Shevchenko for the third fight. And
but so you got to run it back. Yeah.
But that's it. I don't see anyone else. I mean, do you guys, Dan, do you see anybody that could actually go toe-to-toe with her?
Not right now. I think she's been pretty dominant and wait a few years and somebody will pop up that
they always do.
They always do.
Stay there forever.
No, that's the one thing. Like everyone is always humbled at some point in time. We've seen every single fighter. It doesn't make a difference. Anderson Silva, who I think is one of the best ever. I mean, he got Chris Weidman, put him down, put him in his place. I mean, again, we've all seen that happen. So we've seen the only person we haven't seen, I guess, is Khabib, right?
Well, Khabib and Jones. We haven't seen Bones yet.
Yes, that is true, John Jones. Which, by the way, how do we feel about this jump in weight for John Jones?
Well,
I like it. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say he's got the height, but and it's all about, in my opinion, I've never cared too much, like you said earlier, about weight classes and it's all about positioning and technique. And Jones has shown that, he can come up with a good game plan and stay in that position and kind of keep with that game plan. And so I think he's got a good shot at being a really good heavyweight. I just don't think he looks the same as he used to, pre-testing positive 3 times. I don't think I don't know if it's just his age or just the fact that he finally said, oh, I might as well just give this stuff up now because I can't keep getting caught. I don't know.
That's interesting. Art, what about you?
Yeah, so for me, man, I like the fact that he's going to take the challenge of bumping up. This is something that we've all wanted to see from him. Once the DC fights ended, it was like, all right, when are you going to take that next step up? Because, we're tired of seeing you at the same at 205. But my biggest concern is, can he take that power? Because at 205, those guys, yes, they have knockout power, but it's different. He's not facing guys at 205 like Francis Ngannou. He's not facing guys like your Derek Lewis's. He's not facing that at that level. And even though he has great game plans and he's able to control the space and the distance, those guys find a way to touch you. We've seen Derek Lewis evolve. Derek, you saw his last fight. What did he say? Man, I just sat here and waited on this uppercut. I knew it was going to come, and I waited the whole fight to get it.
Oh.
That's all it takes is one shot. So for me, with John, I'm just like, I need to see if you can handle that one shot, because that's the difference right now. At 05, you don't have to worry about that. At heavyweight, it's different.
Or do you think that that Stipe is a better matchup for John Jones? Because
absolutely,
again, Francis is a guy that definitely has that power that we're talking about. So Stipe would be a logically better matchup for John Jones. Who else in that division would be a good matchup for John Jones?
Well, and this is the unique thing with Stipe, right? Even though he's the better matchup because of the lack of knockout power, I still feel like he's the tougher matchup for John because he's a more skilled fighter. He's closer to John from a skill standpoint than your Francis Ngannou's, than Curtis Blade versus or Derek Lewis. Those guys are more knockout artists, and they're trying to expand their game. But we've seen the blueprint on how to beat those guys. If you can get them on the ground, that power is null and void, and they struggle. John is great on the ground. We know what he can do in terms of taking guys down and going to work down there. So it's hard to find, outside of the whole knockout one-shot power guys, it's hard to find a really good matchup from my perspective, at least. But I would love to hear from Dan because obviously he has way more experience in terms of being able to just look and say, well, this guy could be a difficult matchup because of that.
No, I was thinking the same thing, almost for the same reasons. But, yeah, I think Stipe is, maybe a less dangerous matchup for Jones, but I think he's a tougher overall fight. He's harder to take down. He's got decent wrestling, and he's quicker than the other heavyweights as well. And he's got good hands, and he's knocked heavyweights out. So he does have power, and I think if Jones fights one of those other big dudes that all they could do is knock you out, he's really proven, that most of the time, I should say, that he sticks to a game plan and he's going to go out there and take him down, I believe, and use his length at first and irritate him a little bit with his stupid teep kicks and knee kicks, and and then just take him down. He's capable of doing that, and yeah, these guys aren't going to be able to get up very well like the lighter guys can.
Again, we're talking about UFC 259 is tomorrow, and we have another title fight. I mean, dude, the fact that there's 3 title fights is ridiculous.
I love it.
That you can't knock what the UFC does. During a pandemic, they've really been able to still put on a great show. Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling, I mean, arguably could be the best of the 3 fights. I don't know. I'm a big Aljo guy. I like his Funkmaster style. But Dan, give me your thoughts. A lot of people said that Petr Yan hasn't really fought a top-notch opponent yet. Aljamain's his first real test. Is that true?
Yeah, I think at that level, most guys are going to be a good test for. If they've reached a title contention fight, it's going to be a good test for some of these guys. And yeah, I like Jan. He's a tough dude. He's just a goer, and I have not seen the other guy fight very, very much compared to him. So, I mean, I'm leaning towards Jan on that, probably based on just not seeing the other guy enough.
And Arthur, what about you?
Yeah, for me, man, when I think of Petr, I look at that fight that he had against Jose Aldo, and it looked like he got stronger as the fight went on. We saw him obviously in the fourth. Well, no, it was the second round where he actually hurt Jose at the end of it, and then obviously in the fourth where you really saw him pick up steam and then finish him right after that. But when you look at Aljamain, it's crazy how unorthodox he is when he fights. I mean, he sets up things off of the kicks that shouldn't be set up off of kicks. Kicks to strike, kicks to take down, and it really it looks like the opponents are never comfortable in there with him. He controls the distance good, and you obviously know when he gets to the ground, I mean, he's an elite level wrestler. That thing stands out all the time. So I don't know if Petr, how he's going to be able to handle this style of wrestling, because Aljamain, like I said, he's very different in his approach to that. And I just think that he can do some things that can make Petr uncomfortable. Now, I do think Petr has the power in his hands to put him down, though. And I think that's going to make this interesting as well.
We've definitely seen Aljo. I mean, that one knee, was it the knee that he got knocked out? That brutal knee. We've seen Aljo with that one fight, but besides that, he's come back pretty strong. I mean, the Corey Sandhagen fight was pretty impressive. Now, it was very quick.
Absolutely.
But that finish was very impressive by Aljo. Another fight that I'm excited about, and I'm going to ask you guys what fight you guys are really looking forward to, but the Dominic Cruz-Casey Kenny fight I think is pretty good.
And we get it on the prelims.
And he's on the prelims, right? Exactly. I mean, that's just
prelims.
And Dominic Cruz, I love. He is one of the best bantamweights of all time. Now, the thing is, his health has always come into question. Always. But still, when he performs at a high level. Casey Kennedy, though, is pretty legit. 16-2-1. Dan, how do you see that fight going? Do you like that fight, and how do you see it going?
Well, I mean, I'm always a fan of watching Dominic Cruz most of the time. I mean, sometimes it's frustrating. Because he's hard to, he doesn't get in there and just fight. Sometimes it's hard to pin down, and but he's finished a lot of guys with his style. And again, another one of the fights that I just don't know his opponent very well on this. He hasn't been in very many UFC fights, I know, right?
No, he's a young up and comer, and he's won a lot of. I forgot how many fights he's won in a row, but he's done pretty well in the UFC so far. Art, what about you? How do you feel about that fight?
Yeah, for me, man, obviously my fanhood makes me lean Dom in this, even though I think that, he's getting to that point where he either needs to decide, like, all right, I'm going to come back and really do this, because think about how long he waits in between his fights. I understand some of it has been rehab related, but I think, man, with fighting, it's one of those things, you got to be in there. You got to be fighting frequently, so that way you stay, you don't have that cage rest, and we've seen it happen. I just think with Dom, he's been dealing with that. You saw what it looked like against Cejudo. We all remember the Cody Garbrandt fight. Then obviously it was TJ Dillashaw. I want to say he got him as well. I want to say TJ was with Cejudo, so it wasn't him. But you saw those two in terms of the Cody Garbrandt fight and the Henry Cejudo fight, just how both of those went for him. And you think about how much time has been in between those fights to now. That's what makes me the most nervous about it, man. So even though I want Dom to win because I'm a fan, I feel like it's going to be Casey.
It's funny, too, because you did mention he did fight TJ to get his belt back.
Yes.
And that I thought it was arguably it was
his best one. Yes.
But TJ fought really well. It was a very close fight. But yeah, so I agree. Casey, if you watch his fights, you could see why he could be a tough matchup for Dominic Cruz. But if you understand the veteran status, how smart intellectual he is, it's tough not to go for Cruz. Any other fights in particular that really draw to you guys? Dan, how about you?
No, I mean, I pretty much was looking forward to those 4 fights right there. The three champ fights and
Tom Cruise,
the Dominic Cruz fight.
How about you?
Man, for me, I got to see Thiago Santos, man. We've seen. I feel like this is going to answer if it's a John Jones curse or not. Because so far, everybody that fights John Jones and they take him to the brink and we have a close decision or whatever, the next fight or the fight after that, they typically go downhill. We've seen it with Dominic Reyes. We've seen it multiple times now. I just need to see, all right, is this for real or not? I feel like he should win this fight. But if he doesn't and it's something he gets knocked out early on, I'm going to be convinced that it's the John Jones curse.
And listen, Ratrick is not easy by any means.
Right. Not at all.
And Santos now this is not his first fight back, right?
No, this is his second one. It's the second one since.
When was his last fight?
He lost it to Shera last November.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's had some time off. The July fight in 2019 versus Jones. Had some time off. Had like about a year off
because he had blew his knee out in the fight. Remember that? He had like the ACL and stuff. Yeah.
And now he's fighting Ratrick, which again he's pretty good too, man. I'm seeing Ratrick's numbers. Let's see what he's got. His last fight he fought Anthony Smith in that. Oh, was that the one that they were trying to call Smith early? Was that the Anthony Smith had that fight that he got? I felt, Dan, I don't know if you remember, but there was a fight that Smith had not too long ago where basically, I think it was a 5-round fight. It was versus Glover. Versus Glover. Did you remember that fight? Was that a bad job by his?
I don't remember the exact what happened in that fight. I know I watched it, but
Glover was basically beating the crap out of him, and Smith just couldn't rebound, and his team in between rounds was like, oh, you got to just keep it up and go for it. And it was just trying to pump him up. And it's like literally was like, I think he lost a tooth mid.
Yeah. It was like, I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did your team ever push you too hard in a fight?
No, I mean, I'm the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And a lot of fighters are, but, like when I was supposed to fight John Jones, I mean, I kind of tweaked my knee and, like 2-3 weeks out and I was still planning on fighting up till the week of, and they had to sit me down and said, dude, it's not a good idea. I mean, I didn't train other than ride a stationary bike for 2 weeks. And you know, I was still going to go in. I mean, and I had never pulled out of a fight before that. So it was hard to do, but so, yeah, I mean, I have my team kind of goes the other way with it, you know?
Well, before we let you go, Dan, is there anything you want to promote? Anything you're doing right now?
Not really. I mean, I'm just coaching my guys. You know, I'm working on. I'm putting a brewery, distillery, restaurant in the building I own where my gym is. So you'll be able to have a drink and watch practice if you want.
There you go.
I like it.
But
I like it.
Just enjoying life.
And Art, what about you? You got the book out? Anything else you want to promote?
Absolutely, man. Just check
There
the
it
book
is.
out, man. Moats Theory of Life. It's available at moatstheory.com, man. That's the big thing right now. And then, you know, follow me on all on the YouTube stuff, man. Just youtube.com/ArthurMoats55. Follow the media journey that we got going on right now, man.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys joining the Fight Fan. And let's do this again soon. And enjoy the fights, all right?
Absolutely.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thank you.
Dan, thank you. Art, thank you so much,
y'all.
guys. I'll be in touch, all right?
No doubt. Peace.
Boys, take care.